Hi folks, it's Kelvin here. We run coach for Leeds and surrounding areas as well as online coaching. In this little video, I would like to talk about something that I think I've actually been putting off for a while because I don't like to pigeonhole runners, but I do also think this video might be useful for some people. So I'm going to have a go. And that is about runners that train on low, medium and high volumes of, let's say, mileage or time or kilometers, however we want to see that. And I'm talking about recreational runners or non-elites rather than elites that, that are sort of paid to train and recover. So let's start with thinking about what low, medium and high volume training looks like for non-elites. So low volume, I would class as 10 to 25 miles per week. Medium volume, I would class as 30 to 45 miles per week. And high volume, I would class as 45 to 60 miles a week. And there's not many recreational runners that do more than 60 miles per week. There's a little bit of a sort of caveat for this video, and that is that I'm sort of isolating running a little bit here. I'm not talking about other things. So we might have someone who trains off relatively low volumes of running, but maybe does 2 strength sessions and 2 bike sessions. And yes, it's absolutely possible to drive quite a lot of fitness training on the lower volume of running. But let's just to sort of like emphasize a point, let's isolate running here. So let's say this is the only exercise that these people do. And I'm talking about people that are training for fitness progression, okay, that expect to get fitter and faster or be able to go further year on year. I'm not talking about somebody who runs, 3 miles a day, 3 times a week because it's the best thing for their mental health, getting out in nature, and there's no real performance element to that. There's definitely benefits, but I'm talking here about fitness progression. Okay, so for those that train on those low, medium and higher volumes, we use those to sort of guide a few things. And the first thing it's going to guide intensity distribution. So those training on the lower ends of the volume scale need more intensity in the training. So they're probably going to be doing at least a lot more in zone 3, probably not a lot of zone 1. So it's going to be easy running, it's going to be sort of in zones 2 and 3. And then they're probably going to do an amount of, maybe zone 4 and maybe even some zone 5. Those training on medium volumes probably going to be doing some zone 1, some zone 2. That might be like split down the middle. And then some zone 3, 4 and 5, more of a sort of classic pyramidal style of volume distribution. And then those training on higher volumes will do more in zone 1. Probably a little bit less in zone 2, some zone 3, 4 and 5. But the intensity distribution, that pyramid will be like a little bit steeper, so less of a percentage in zone 4 and 5. So what I'm saying there is those training on lower volumes, if running's the only thing that they do and they want to progress fitness, if they're limited by the frequency that they can run and the amount they can run, the only new stimulus then becomes intensity. So we need to make sure that intensity distribution is well managed and periodized. The other thing that this might guide the low, medium and higher volumes is event choice. And again, I'm talking about events where people want a performance progression rather than, a goal which is finishing an event. So it would be very difficult for someone, in the middle of the sort of low volume, so training on maybe 15 to 20 miles a week, to progress at the marathon. So we're not saying someone can't run a marathon off low volume training. It's absolutely possible. But if they were to expect to run a better time the next year off a similar amount of volume, it would actually be really difficult to do as that runner gets older. So it might be something, how many miles you do each week might actually help to guide your event choice. And it might also take away some frustration. I often see runners training on very low volumes doing, the same marathon year in, year out, over and over again, and getting really frustrated that they're not getting any faster. And it's not to do with their potential, it's to do with how they're training. It's also worth noting here that when we talk about those numbers of, medium volume, 30 to 45 miles a week, I'm talking about taking someone's annual mileage and dividing that by 52. I'm not talking about that, once a runner did a 30-mile week. We're talking about an average over longer periods of time. And it is worth checking in on. And it should be something that, we use to guide our intensity distribution. So more intensity for lower volume athletes. And it is something that we use to guide our event choice, particularly if we're looking for a performance progression. So there's quite a lot in there. Some of it might even be a little bit controversial, but I would really appreciate your thoughts in the comments below. And for now, happy running.